Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing the Patek Philippe Nautilus Chronograph. This is the 5980 1A-001. So this is the first generation watch, as launched in 2006. Its final year was the tail end of 2013. So the timepiece had a fairly long run. However, there are certain traits of bracelet and movement that changed over time that can create little subdivisions in the production. We're going to discuss how this watch is a relatively narrow band within that time frame. This is a scarce watch. Now, the timepiece is 40.5 millimeters in stainless steel. It's not a big watch. The standard 5711 is 40 millimeters. This is 40.5. Because of the protrusions of the chronograph pushers, it does wear a little bit larger, but it is not a thick watch. At 12.3 millimeters, it's approximately the thickness of a Daytona, so don't let the shape of the case fool you. It's actually a very slim timepiece. Across the wrist, a few ways to measure it. You can measure it lug-to-lug, in which case it's a very compact 45.6, or you can measure the somewhat rigid end links of the bracelet, which do define its horizontal span. So it's actually about 51 millimeters across the wrist, which again is very compact objectively, as it's the same dimension as a Rolex Daytona with solid end link bracelet. The timepiece is on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, so I'll give you one more shot of it to give scale and relative proportion. It's a good watch to wear on a smaller wrist. I can recommend it down to 14 centimeters circumference. The bracelet is beautifully built, and in some ways it's a little bit of a throwback piece, as this is one of the final editions of the Nautilus chronograph or otherwise to have used screws to fix the removable links. Not only screws, but desirable spring-loaded ceramic pin snaps to maintain the tolerance of the clasp over time. This was something that went away in 2012, so these watches already are becoming collector's pieces. The screw-fixed bracelets are of higher quality than the subsequent pin sleeves. Why did they make the change? Cost cutting. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. The clasp is double deployant. It features a clamshell lock with the calatrava across, so it is quite secure when closed. The bracelet, like everything on this watch, is hand finished. You can see there's a hairline bevel that runs down the flank of the links, perfectly aligned across the shoulders. It actually continues out from the flank of the lugs. The links are of staggered alignment, size, and finish to break up the mass of metal. Not that there's a mass of metal, but it looks anything but monotone. The finish is quite distinct and the contrast is sharp. The case band is surprisingly slim and beautifully executed. As you can see, primarily in satin finish, there are a few polished highlights, such as the bevel around the case band, as well as the facing of the bezel and its locking system that flanks the winglets. The bezel locks onto the case back locks into the case. Three-piece case, and you'll note that the crown is nicely recessed in a sort of quasi-shear guard arrangement, calatrava cross, blazon. The watch shows all of its layers of construction. It has a highly mechanical, machine-age aesthetic to it, but it is functional, allowing the watch to boast 120-meter water resistance. You can see a pusher adjuster on the flank that is used to adjust the date. Why is that? Well, the caliber here, the CH28520, is related to the annual calendar chronograph in the 5960, and that uses all pusher adjusters for the annual calendar. This has only one date, so it has only one adjuster, but it's a relic of the genetic heritage of this movement. Now you can see the watch has a gorgeous dial immediately inspired by the standard 5711. There's a gradient blue that fades from navy to a sort of silver blue at center, and then there are white gold applique indices, which you can see are nicely faceted outboard to trace the arc of the dial. There is a white on dark blue print and a mono counter at 6 o'clock, sometimes known as the bullseye. The mono counter features both chronograph hours and minutes, and note there's a little 60-minute scale you can use to more easily keep track of 60 minutes if you are measuring shorter intervals. I always find it difficult to measure between 30 and 60 minutes on a chronograph. This watch makes it simple. There's a hand at center which is white varnished, and you can see that is, pardon me, it's of high polish, which is there essentially as your chronograph hand, but it can also be your constant seconds hand. See, when you stop the chronograph, there's not much going on this dial. So if you like to have constant seconds, because of the vertical clutch architecture of this chronograph system, the vertical clutch lets you run the chronograph full time with no hazard. It also allows the chronograph to start without any jump or stagger, and the watch does feature a flyback chronograph capability, so you can restart and reset in one action. That's another legacy of the 5960. There is a quick set for the date by means of a pusher. The watch does not feature stop seconds, but it does have a wonderful array. And by the way, how about that rich striation of the dial, one of the original design features from Gerald Genta in 1976. Opening up the clasp, you can see the case back, and we're into the era of the Patek Philippe seal here. I mentioned that there is a little bit of an odd combination or permutation of design features here. You have the Patek Philippe seal, you have the silicone hairspring, and you have the bracelet fixed by screws. And I'm still conducting research to find out how broad a time frame incorporated all of these features, but it may have been as brief as one model year. The Patek Philippe seal came on board in 2009. This system went away after 2011, and I believe the hairspring itself came online in late 2011, early 2012. Now you can see there's a rotor, unidirectional action, ceramic rotor bearings, high efficiency, unlubricated, gyromax balance, free sprung, very tough, adjusted in 5 positions, silicone hairspring for anti-magnetism, Patek Philippe seal, that means the watch was regulated to no worse than -3+2 at the Patek Philippe factory. You can see there is a column wheel architecture with levers and horns. And you can see the recentering hammers acting when I reset and restart the chronograph. So you have both a column wheel and a vertical clutch, automatic winding, 45 to 55 hour power reserve, all of this water resistant down to 120 meters. So it is a true full service sports watch. 35 joules, it beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. And it is a handsome thing with mirrored anglage, the same feature inside all of the jewel and screw countersinks, circular Cote de Genève across the rotor and bridges. There's an engine turning perlage on the base plate. You can see it most distinctly underneath the beating balance of the watch, and all of the chronograph levers and horns are beautifully straight-grained satin finish. It's a feast for the eyes, but also for the intellect, a formidable feat of engineering. This watch puts it all together, and it does so with a rare combination of features. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox. Patek Philippe 5980 by night. Plenty of lume.